What really happens after death? Religion versus science. What if death isn't the end? Across history, humans have asked one of the biggest questions. What happens when we die? Is there an afterlife where our soul continues to exist? Do we reincarnate into another life? Or does science have an entirely different answer? Religions around the world offer detailed explanations of the afterlife, while scientists seek a logical perspective. But the truth might be more mysterious than we think. Religious beliefs on the afterlife. Throughout history, religions have given detailed descriptions of what happens after we take our last breath. Let's explore how some of the world's largest faiths explain the afterlife. Islam, the afterlife, and the Day of Judgment. Islam teaches that life is a test and that after death, a person enters the grave, where they face questioning by angels. This period, known as Barzakh, is an intermediate state before Judgment Day. On the Day of Judgment, Qiyamah, every soul will be resurrected and judged by God based on their deeds. The righteous will be rewarded with eternal paradise, Jannah, a place of unimaginable beauty, while the sinful will be sent to Jahannam, hell, a place of punishment. The Quran describes the afterlife in vivid detail, emphasizing the consequences of one's actions in this world. Christianity, heaven, hell, and judgment. Christianity also believes in life after death, where the soul is judged by God. According to the Bible, the righteous will enter heaven, a place of eternal joy with God, while sinners will be sent to hell. Some Christian denominations believe in purgatory, a temporary state of purification before reaching heaven. The New Testament speaks of a future resurrection, where Jesus Christ will return and the final judgment will separate the saved from the damned. The concept of an eternal afterlife plays a central role in Christian teachings. Hinduism and Buddhism. Reincarnation and enlightenment. Unlike Islam and Christianity, Hinduism and Buddhism believe in samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. In Hinduism, the soul, Atman, is reincarnated into different bodies based on karma, the sum of a person's actions. Good karma leads to a better next life, while bad karma results in suffering. The ultimate goal is moksha, liberation from the cycle of rebirth, where the soul unites with the divine. Buddhism also teaches reincarnation, but emphasizes breaking free from suffering through enlightenment, nirvana. Unlike Hinduism, Buddhism does not believe in a permanent soul, but rather a continuation of consciousness shaped by past actions. The idea is that once nirvana is attained, a person is freed from suffering in the cycle of rebirth. Ancient beliefs, the Egyptian and Greek afterlives. The ancient Egyptians believed in an elaborate afterlife, where the soul underwent a journey through the underworld, duat. The dead were judged by Osiris, and their hearts were weighed against the feather of truth. If their hearts were pure, they entered paradise. If not, they were devoured by a monstrous deity. In Greek mythology, the dead traveled to the underworld, ruled by Hades. Souls were either rewarded in the Elysian fields or punished in Tartarus. These beliefs highlight the deep-rooted human desire to understand what happens after death. Scientific perspective. What does science say? While religions offer spiritual explanations, science takes a different approach. Scientists argue that death is the end of biological life, and consciousness ceases when the brain stops functioning. However, there are still many mysteries surrounding death that science has yet to fully explain. Near-death experiences, NDEs. A glimpse of the afterlife? One of the most intriguing phenomena is near-death experiences, NDEs. Many people who have been clinically dead for a short time report strikingly similar experiences. Floating above their bodies, traveling through a tunnel, seeing a bright light, or even encountering deceased loved ones. Studies show that NDEs occur across different cultures, leading some researchers to believe that they might be more than just hallucinations. However, skeptics argue that NDEs are simply the brain's way of processing extreme trauma, triggered by a lack of oxygen or chemical changes during death. What happens in the brain when we die? Recent studies suggest that even after the heart stops, brain activity continues for a short time. A 2017 study found that some brain cells remain active minutes after death. This raises fascinating questions. Does consciousness briefly persist beyond death? Could this explain the vivid visions reported in NDEs? Neuroscientists believe that as the brain shuts down, it releases a surge of electrical activity, potentially causing hallucinations. This might explain the experience of seeing a bright light or feeling a sense of peace. Theories of consciousness after death. Some scientists argue that consciousness is not merely a product of the brain, but exists independently. The quantum consciousness theory, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, suggests that consciousness originates at the quantum level and may persist after death. While this theory is controversial, it opens up new discussions about the nature of life and death. Unexplained cases and paranormal events. While science remains skeptical, there are countless stories of people claiming to have seen the afterlife and returned. Some have described meeting deceased relatives or gaining knowledge they couldn't have known otherwise. Paranormal researchers have also documented cases of ghosts and unexplained phenomena, leading many to wonder if consciousness can survive beyond the body. One of the most famous cases is that of Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience during a coma. He claims to have visited another realm filled with light and divine beings. Before his experience, he was a skeptic, but afterward, he became a firm believer in an afterlife. His story remains one of the most debated in the field of near-death studies. Final thoughts. The mystery of life after death. So what really happens after death? Religions provide answers filled with hope, fear, and moral lessons, while science searches for evidence within the limits of human knowledge. Could both perspectives hold a piece of the truth? Is death the final end or just the beginning of another journey? One thing is certain, until the mystery is solved, the question of what happens after death will continue to fascinate and intrigue us all. What do you believe? Let us know in the comments below.